of the whole assembly. One sin, one time, one faithful end. Consider the acharit. Once after doing something wrong, I felt lousy about it. And I said to myself, if only I could remember how I felt now after doing this before I did it the next time, I'd never go that route again. It stopped me in my tracks. That's the principle of the acharit.
Dr. Brown hit the streets to discuss why people do things that may lead to their own personal destruction.
Why do you think people blow it? In other words, we all know that one way or another, it's in the Bible, our sin will find us out. One way or another, there are consequences. Why do you think we still blow it?
They just think that they get above all the wrong and they fall into that trap.
So you can deceive yourself? Like I can get away with this?
You get a swelled head. You think you're above all that. You're better than all that.
So it can,
or you'll never get caught.
You'll never get caught? Because I haven't got caught so far, right? No, I mean, that's what you think. Right, if we deceive ourselves, there's some basis. I got away with it once. I had a drink. I'm not an alcoholic. I got high. I'm in control. Hey, we're just friends. Haven't crossed that line. And then it bites you. So do you think if somebody get a swelled head, it can happen to any of us?
Oh, sure, sure. Sure, we can all
Free will.
Get full of ourselves.
Once you start doing something, it gets easier and easier, and then you just start drinking up to...
Get used to it.
Yeah.
Lose your conscience. What about the whole entertainment industry that surrounds us today? Do you think that desensitizes our conscience a little bit?
I think the media and the internet and everything that's out there, we're getting our information so quick and it's so diverse that it's kind of overloading.
So you can hear about 100 murders a day. In other words, you can't shock anymore. So it's got to go further. And you look at the old horror movies we grew up with, like Frankenstein. It's still scary, but you don't have heads rolling and blood gushing and limbs being cut off. So picture you're a kid, you grew up watching that. You grew up watching TV where everybody's sleeping around with everybody, and it's cool, it's all right.
You become immune to it.
You do. There's really no way to get around it. Talking to these folks on the street just reminds us again, sin has consequences. Wrong behavior can be disastrous, and yet we can deceive ourselves and think, hey, it'll never happen to me, it'll happen to that guy, happen to her, it'll never happen to me. Now, the folks I just spoke with are from New Jersey. I'm from New York originally, and there's kind of a common sense approach. New York, New Jersey, you just tell it like it is. And it's so interesting to me that these folks came to the same conclusions that I've come to, not just observing life, but studying the scriptures. You know why? Because God's word, especially the book of Proverbs, is filled with common sense. It's not just some mystical, spiritual reflection. The Bible's down to earth. It speaks to us where we live, especially the book of Proverbs. And these folks could easily list one thing after another happens. You decide you're going to commit adultery. You decide you're going to get drunk and drive. You decide this and that. Hey, I'll be okay. The fact is our worlds can collapse on us quicker than we know. Or worse still, little by little by little by little, we destroy ourselves.
They're afraid. I think they're scared of what people will say about them.
One, maybe they don't know it's wrong, or two, they know it's wrong and they're sick in the head. There's something wrong with them.
When I was a boy, I remember watching cigarette commercials on TV. The Marlboro ad stood out. There was the Marlboro man, sitting on his horse. What a man, what a scene. That strong cowboy sat on his powerful steed with nothing but gorgeous green fields around him. It was called Marlboro country. And the message was clear. Even if you lived in some rat-infested apartment in the inner city, just smoking these cigarettes would turn you into the Marlboro man and transport you into Marlboro country. Not quite. The Marlboro man actually died of lung cancer. I kid you not. And real Marlboro country is the lung cancer ward of the local hospital.
One more question. Why do people knowingly do wrong?
They're afraid. I think they're scared of what people will say about them. They're afraid of what's going to happen to them if, you know, they do speak their mind and they do go along with what they believe in.
Why do people do things they know is wrong? one, maybe they don't know it's wrong, or two, they know it's wrong and they guess they're sick in the head. There's something wrong with them.
Peer pressure and the fact that, they don't have a strong family background.
They don't think about the consequences of their actions, so they go to jail.
Or maybe they think they won't get caught.
Let's go back to the wisdom of Proverbs. This ancient book has something to say to us today. Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has strife? Who has complaints? Who has needless bruises? Who has bloodshot eyes? Those who linger over wine, who go to sample bowls of mixed wine. Do not gaze at wine when it is red, when it sparkles in the cup, when it goes down smoothly. Its acharit bites like a snake and poisons like a viper. Do you get the picture? Look at that sparkling wine. Ooh, look at that glowing champagne. Drink it down, friend. It'll soothe your nerves. It'll lift your spirits. It'll make your troubles disappear until the day comes when you can't live without it. You wake up in the morning with your hands shaking because you haven't had a drink, and you lose everything that was dear to you. There are winos lying on our city streets, soaked in their own urine, who were once successful CEOs. Yes, it bites like a serpent. That's the acharit. So what do you think is a good way that people could avoid destroying their lives?
The fear of God.
Fear of God,
That's what it is.
yes. Trouble. What do you think would happen if people understood the consequences better before they took the plunge? Or better yet, you could see a movie of that part of your life, the newspaper reporters at your house reporting the scandal, your wife driving off with the kids, the hospital telling you got AIDS. What if you could see all that before you went that direction? Think that would stop you?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like a scared straight. Yeah.
Scared straight.
Because people don't realize what certain consequences could come out, the outcome of the things that they do. They have no idea.
Absolutely right.
You open their eyes a little bit.
So you look at somebody else who blows it, because I host this show, I'm in ministry also, so I keep a careful record of friends of mine that were doing well, and then they thought they could just indulge the flesh, get away with murder, and they lost everything. I remind myself of that. That's the best antidote to stop me from going the same direction.
Learn from other people.
Have you ever read the Bible much?
Yes.
So, okay. In the book of Proverbs, that's the whole purpose of Proverbs, to say, consider the final end. In other words, wisdom tells a kid, don't run out in the street to get the ball, because the little kid doesn't know it. So God, who knows everything, gives us the advance warning. Consider the final consequences first, and it'll keep you safe. Make sense?
Oh, yeah.
The principle of the acharit. I'm sure they never heard that word before, but they understand the principle. Show me first what's going to happen before I do it, and I won't mess up. That's wisdom. That's God's way. Several hundred years ago, a Christian leader said, the wages that sin bargains with the sinner are life, pleasure, and profit. The wages it pays him are death, torment, and destruction. That's the message of acharit in a nutshell. And it could be God's life or death message for you today. Don't be like Esau, who sold his birthright for a single meal. Don't be like that rebellious teenage girl, degraded, abused, because she just couldn't stay at home with her parents. Don't be like that gifted pastor who's yielding to discouragement caused him to slide headlong into depravity and ultimately cost him his life and the life of his wife and baby. Don't be like the Marlboro man, a symbol of freedom and strength, but really a slave to a 3-inch nicotine master and ultimately a needless casualty to cancer. Don't be like that wino on the street, falling from the pinnacle of success because he cracked under the pressures of life, first mesmerized by alcohol's peace, then victimized by its poison. No. Listen to counsel, submit to discipline, and your final end will be glorious. You've been warned. Now be wise. Remember the acharit.